All right, so this is week 5, day 1, and this is George's grandma writing him back. So, again, he's a 7th grader, and this is from the book Letters from Hillside Farm, Cleveland, Ohio. Dear George, your letter of March 15th arrived today. I am so happy to know that you all arrived in Wisconsin safe and sound. I know it must be disappointing not to have electricity, to have to go to the bathroom in an outhouse, and to warm your house with wood-burning stove. But do remember what I told you about what it was like when I was a little girl. In case you don't remember all the details, I'll share some of them again. So this is just like the letter that we're writing. She's going to introduce who she is and where she's at. I grew up on a farm in northern Ohio, not too different from the one where you live now. I was born there in 1876. Now you can figure out how old I am. My parents, they would be your great-grandparents, had moved there before I was even born from New York State, where they had been farmers. But the crops were poor in New York. Mother and father were looking for a better life, and moving further west seemed the way to do it. If you think your Wisconsin farmhouse is primitive, let me tell you a little about the house where I was born. It really wasn't a house, but a log cabin that my father and some of the neighbors put together when Mother and Father first moved to Ohio. I know you've read about and seen pictures of pioneer log cabins. The one I grew up in was a lot like those. It had only one room with a big fireplace at one end and a bed with a mattress stuffed with corn shucks on the other end. That's where my parents slept. They could pull a curtain across that end of the cabin, which is in a way like having another little room. My 2 little brothers, your great uncles, and I slept upstairs in the cabin. We got there by crawling up a ladder that my father made out of oak branches. It was cozy sleeping up there, especially on a rainy night with the raindrops pounding on the roof just over our heads. It was so very dark in the cabin's loft because there were no windows. We didn't have real windows downstairs either. Glass windows were scarce and too expensive for our family. My father stretched a piece of white muslin, a kind of cloth, over each window frame, and then oiled the cloth to make it last longer. Oh, that's fascinating. These makeshift windows let in sunlight, but we couldn't see out like you can with the glass windows. Our light in the cabin came from kerosene lamps, just like you have. And yes, George, we had an outdoor bathroom too. I'm sorry to hear that your leg is still giving you problems. But let me tell you about another person who had lots of health problems when he was your age. Theodore Roosevelt. You probably read about him because he became our 26th president of the United States. He didn't let being sickly get in the way of doing great things. He just held his chin up and kept going. Sometimes that's what we've all got to do. Don't let Amos Woodward get under your skin. I think he might be jealous that you know how to do things with leather and that he doesn't know how to do. And he probably enjoys teasing you because you limp. Some children are like that. They like making fun of anyone who seems different. Just ignore him. It's not your fault that this Amos boy's picking on you. Something else is going on in his life. That would be my guess anyway. I am so glad you are safe, and I look forward to more of your letters. I miss you all. I miss all of you very much. Love, Grandma S. So she's doing what we're doing in our letters. She's introducing herself. She's talking about what it was like where she was at. She's talking about somebody from her time or something that she knew about, which we're not necessarily going to talk about. My goal isn't to talk about the presidents because it's not my hobby, But she's just making a connection to the boy being sick. And then also making a connection or talking to him about how he was talking about how Amos had picked on him and what her thoughts on that are. So, next part of the letter. So this one we have 2 pages to read. And this next one's a shorter one. From George to his grandma. March 21st, 1938, Monday. Dear Grandma, the beginning of my first full week of school. I hope it goes better than last week. The only good thing about school is that I don't think I'm too far behind. We had a spelling test today and I got a perfect score, 100%. I did even better than the 8th graders. There are 2 of them at my school, and one is Amos Woodward and that big brown-haired kid who picks on me. He got an 85 on the test. Rachel Williams, the other 8th grader, got a 92. Miss Harvey didn't say anything to me about my perfect score, but she did smile a little when she handed back my paper. She told us that in 2 weeks our school will compete with Forest Grove School at a spelling bee. I'd sure like to be on our school's spelling team. I haven't been late for school since that one time. It's hard walking too. With a few warmer days, the snow has been melting, and the dirt road past our farm is a river of mud. The mailman and the milkman can scarcely drive without getting stuck. The roads are better in the morning because of the ruts are still frozen. This afternoon it took me nearly an hour to walk home from school, and when I got here my boots were muddy near to the top. Ma said I looked like I had been jumping up and down in the muck. I said I hadn't, but I felt like a better nickname for me, that's funny, might be Stuckmeyer instead of Struckmeyer. I got stuck in the mud at least 3 times, and one time I thought for sure I'd lost my boot. Time to do my homework. Your grandson, George. So they have dirt roads, clearly, with no gravel packed down into them, so it gets super soft and mushy. All right, so again, he talks about how things are going, talks about school and spelling, then talks about how he hasn't late, and then his connection to some of the kids, and unfortunately, the weather as well, being not so great. All right.